What's up, everyone? It's Cannan back with another Rune Factory video, but today, instead of looking at Guardians of Azuma, we are looking at the future for Rune Factory 6, which we all know is currently in development, and even though it's probably going to be another couple of years before we see the release of it, I wanted to go over what my hopes / wish list is for things we could see in this new title. Now, of course, we know next to nothing, despite that it takes place in the same part of the world that 1 through 5 did, where Azuma is taking part in the West, in the East, where we've never been before. So, we all know Rune Factory 6 is the next game in the series after Guardians of Azuma, which, as of the recording of this video, has not released yet. We're less than a month away, so if any of these features are actually in that game, I'll notice it when I actually get to play it. But yes, it's only 5 things. I didn't want this to be like a very long, convoluted video, so I just did 5 wish lists. Though I think if you went by Reddit, I think a lot of people would have included one thing on a wish list for Rune Factory 6, and that is for the mommy characters to be romanceable. I swear, every time the full cast list of a Rune Factory game is announced, and there's one like hot older single mom, the Rune Factory fandom goes crazy. And then when she's not a romance option, yeah. Now, of course, yes, most Rune Factory protagonists would be too young, but if we, if you ever want to do a Rune Factory game with an older protagonist, maybe. I personally think Ulaka is probably the closest we've gotten to a more mature looking marriage candidate, but it is what it is. I meant that as a joke because it's everywhere. There's an NPC character that I might go over in the live stream, but she's attractive. She is, and they're like, marvelous, did it again. We can't keep letting them get away with this. But yeah, that was a little joke thing I wanted to throw in there that I've noticed in the last couple of weeks of more and more stuff being revealed to us. So before I get on with this wish list, please remember, you enjoy our content, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. My Rune Factory videos have been doing pretty good, so that's why I'm going to keep on going. Though me and Jess still have a Ruby wish list to do for Volume 10. Well, not really Volume 10, the whole Vacuo arc. So we need to do that at some point. But okay, so I'm going to start at number 5. Now, this particular thing is number 5 because I think it's a given, but I still wanted it to be on my wish list, even though I think it's definitely going to be in Rune Factory 6. But starting the wish list, number 5 is same-sex marriage. Now, of course, like I said, this is a given. It was introduced in Rune Factory 5. It's in Guardians of Azuma. It's also been introduced in the Story of Seasons series that Rune Factory has also made, and kind of a spin-off from, especially if you go back into its early days. So yeah, I think it's a given that there will from now on always be same-sex options in Rune Factory. I think it's more safe just to have all of the candidates be, choices. That way everyone's happy, because everyone has a favorite marriage candidate, and that way you just keep everyone happy and no one's locked behind stuff. But yeah, like number 5 is definitely that, because it's low because it's so low because I definitely think it'll be in the game, but I also think it's just a great way to make every player happy. So we're going to go on to number 4, and how I named these, I'll explain more what they mean, because when I just say the title of the wish list, like I'm sure some people will be going, huh? Well, what's he mean by that? So let me explain. Let's go to number 4, which is changing world. Now, this is something that is more capable in open world games, and I do not want Rune Factory 6 to be open world. I do not want it to be open world. Guardians of Azuma looks like it may pretty much be open world, and that's fine. It's a spin-off title. That's usually where they try different stuff. But I really don't want an open world where... That's the one big thing I did not like about Natsume's newest Harvest Moon. Like, it was better than most of them, but I did not like that it was open world and I could like move my farm magically from one town to another. Because I'm a traditionalist, I think, and I'll actually get more into that in my number 1 wish list. But changing world, what I mean by that is I want the world to actually change in reflection of the story. Because let's face it, Rune Factory is a farming game with Japanese role-playing game add-ons to it. A lot of people call them dungeon crawlers, but I've always called them JRPG farming games. Because there's an actual plot. Like, yes, Story of Seasons had plots, but they were very, oh, make this farm successful. Stuff like that. Where you actually have an arc going on in Rune Factory games. You have a villain. You have heroes. The fact that you fight monsters with swords and magic and you gain levels. It's not just being a farmer. And everyone else in the village's stories are tied to what is going on. And I would just like more stuff being reflected by where you are in the story. Like, if a major event happens, have it be reflected, not just have the villagers talk about it if you talk to them. Show signs of whatever happened. When the final dungeon is unlocked, have the sky be a different color. Like, that was one thing I was definitely let down with in Rune Factory 5 is when you found out who the villain is and the final dungeon unlocks, nothing really changes in Rigbarth. You can ignore it and just keep on farming. You don't have people panicking. You don't have more seed members who are on the side of the good guys patrolling the streets. You don't have roadblocks keeping you from going to certain areas because of the danger. Like, if anytime in a Rune Factory game, if monsters attack a village, I want there to be repercussions. I want there to be house damage. I want there to be people who are injured. I don't just want everything looks normal after the cutscene. I just really, I want it to be, I guess what, for lack of a better term, is I'm wanting the games to be more immersive in their world in relation to the story of the game. Now, of course, the stories have not always been the strong point of Rune Factory games. I know a lot of people praised Rune Factory 4's story, which it was very good. I guess I'm kind of looking for something like that. Like, stuff actually changing. That's my big wish list for this. Like if a town is attacked by monsters, have it be reflected, not just, oh, the cutscene's over, back to farming. But yeah, that is what I mean by changing world. Next, we are looking at number 3, and number 3 is more interactive festivals. Now, what do I mean by this? I will always look at Harvest Moon or, Story of Seasons, Back to Nature, as a prime example of great festivals. You had a good few for every month, and a lot of them were interactive. Now, of course, you had ones like Spring Crop Festival, where you just entered a crop, and if yours was the best one, you won. And of course, stuff like the Cooking Festival. Now, I believe Rune Factory 5 did have a Cooking Festival, but the problem is, don't get me wrong, I love Rune Factory 5. I enjoyed the game. Man, the festivals were very, very bland and generic in that game. Um, like, I always thought if they had made it a little bit bigger, the best place to hold festivals in Rigbarth would have been, right over here where the big tree is, with many stalls and stuff like that. Like for the cooking festival, you should have tables with food on them and stuff like that. And I get, the town mayor being the judge, but I would have liked a gourmet, like character to be there to judge it. But Back to Nature had, like, in the summer, the swimming contest where you actually had a swimming race, a horse race, or a monster race in Rune Factory's case. I really hated that in Pioneers of Olive Town, the Egg Hunt Festival was just a scripted cutscene. You didn't actually run around the village and hunt eggs. I would like something more in these games like that, and not just in Rune Factory. Story of Seasons altogether. And for festivals that are more cutscene based, like a fireworks festival and stuff like that, yes, have those really be meaningful, especially if you're watching it with your love interest. Now, even though it does not have a whole lot of festivals, I think A Wonderful Life's remake did a really good job of making, like, the fireworks display meaningful. That was a really good, meaningful cutscene and a good way to greatly increase the affection with your marriage candidate. And I'm not saying that the festivals in Rune Factory 5 didn't increase affection, but they just didn't seem important. They didn't seem like must-do activities. If you watch my live streams, I mostly ignore the festivals just because they were kind of a waste of time in Rune Factory 5. They just weren't fun in a lot of ways. And there was another one in Back to Nature where it was the Tomato Festival, where you literally teamed up with someone and you had like a tournament style tomato fight. Like you threw tomatoes at each other. It was hard. I never won it. But, and stuff like the Cow Festival, the Chicken Festival, where, your cow's milk gets, graded, and if you got the best milk, you win, and the cow that won will start producing golden milk. If your chicken wins, it'll produce golden eggs. This kind of ties into my number one, but yes, like make the farming worth it for some festivals. Like all the work you're doing for your farm should be reflected in some festivals to get different rewards and all that, or achievements or something like that. So yes, I don't want festivals where you just show up, talk to the NPCs, talk to the mayor, and that be it. And yes, there were some interactive ones in 5, but I don't know. I really think that they should really focus on making the festivals fun and something you definitely want to do. But that is my number 3. Number 2 is more story focus. And what I mean by that is it kind of goes with number 4 in that I have always seen Rune Factory as a farming Japanese RPG, in that it has the farming like Story of Seasons and all the other kind of features that you would expect from a farming game, but it also has a plot line. It has a story arc for you to follow that typically has, you going to dangerous places, leveling up, getting stronger, then eventually learning who the main antagonist is, go through a final dungeon, defeat the antagonist, save the world. That has always been a thing in Rune Factory. But I feel like in some games, not all of them, the story was kind of the weakest thing. Rune Factory 5, I just felt like eventually as it went on that the story just wasn't that groundbreaking. Rune Factory 4, great. I don't remember 3 or 2 story all that well. 1 was kind of basic, but then again, Rune Factory 1 is the most basic out of the whole series because it was the first one. Frontier I never finished. Tides of Destiny, it was good. It wasn't bad. It had some interesting moments, but really, with Tides of Destiny, the story was about the strongest thing going for that game, in my opinion. I did not enjoy the farming and what they did with that in that game. But I really wanted, I'm not saying it needs to be Final Fantasy with farming, but, and I know at the end of the day, Rune Factory is kind of a more chill, more kid-friendly game, but I would love one that has like an epic like Japanese RPG story, you know, with the big moments, the cinematics, the music that most games have. And 6 could be a perfect time to do that, you know. I'm only guessing, but by the time Rune Factory 6 comes out, it'll more than likely be a Steam and Switch 2 exclusive game. Since 5, Rune Factory is only releasing on PC and Switch. I really, really wish it would come to PlayStation. But it is what it is, you know. But hopefully by then I'll have a Switch 2 when Rune Factory 6 comes out. But it'll have the good enough hardware for a game like Rune Factory to, you know, be a little bit more grand in a lot of ways. Now, of course, I don't want the games to lose their identity. I do not want that. But as an RPG fan, I would love a bit more emphasis on the story a little bit. And now we move on to my number one hope for Rune Factory 6, and that is more focus on farming. Rune Factory 5 disappointed me in so many ways because it literally almost made farming pointless, besides making money. That was it. I was not thrilled with, you know, Seed HQ being our house. I didn't like that the only way you could have monster barns was on those farm dragons, and the monster barns were awful. They looked okay on the outside, but inside they were the most generic looking, lazy monster barns I have ever seen. They were pretty much just the monster just standing in a room. That was it. There was no food troughs. There was no stalls. There was no anesthetic. There was no decorations in it to make it look like a barn. It, like, the first time I saw them, I was like, these look and have the same textures of the old Maze screensavers from like Windows XP back in the 90s. Like, it was not good whatsoever. Now, seeing the monster barns in Azuma, they look better, but the thing that really worries me about Guardians of Azuma is it seems like farming is not the focus. You can do it, yes, but we don't even know if we have a house in this. Like, where do we stay? Like, when we get married, where do us and our family stay? If you marry a god or a goddess, do they just stay at their shrine? You know, like, is that where you live? I know that's where the save points are, but like, is that where you live when you get married? If it's a god or a goddess, is their shrine? What about the non-deity romance options? Like, where do you live? Where does your family? Like, they've not shown us that. Maybe it's in the game, but they've not showed us anything like that. In Rune Factory 6, what I want is a simple house, a field, and plots to build monster barns. I will say I was like, the one thing about Rune Factory 4 that did disappoint me is that we stayed in the castle and that the field was pretty much in the back of the castle, and yeah, that's where you live. That's like, it was a room in a castle. It's like, I want my own house. I want to be able to upgrade that house. I want to be able to upgrade my monster barns, just like in Story of Seasons where you can upgrade the barn. I actually wouldn't mind if there's a coop that's separate for like the more bird-like monsters that lay eggs. I would love different facilities. That's my biggest hope, really, for Rune Factory 6, is let's have a more focus on farming. That is the thing about these games. When Rune Factory first launched, the first 3 titles in the series was called Rune Factory 1, 2, or 3, A Fantasy Harvest Moon. And that's because that's what they were. They started off as simply spin-offs of Harvest Moon. They were just straight-up farming games with more fantasy RPG elements. Now, of course, Rune Factory has become its own series since then. But yeah, that's that I just want to return. As far as farming goes, I want to return to basics. I want a simple house, a plot of land to grow crops on, and spaces to build stuff for my, places for my monsters. Because even with Rune Factory, the other Rune Factory games, I'm very basic when it comes to monsters. I get Buffamoos, I get Woolies. I only get the ones that actually look like farm animals: cows, chickens, sheep, ducks, a dog, a cat, a horse maybe. But I just wish we could keep them. I wish we had a stall for our horse, or mount, whatever. Buffamoos and stuff like that, and Woolies would mostly go in the monster barns. And I don't remember their names. The chickens, whatever the chicken monsters are called. I wish that they would have a separate coop. And yeah, I just want a return to basic farming. I really do. Whether we'll get that in Rune Factory 6, we'll see. But I'll be excited for the game either way when it comes out. Even if the only one that gets fulfilled is same-sex marriage on my wish list, I'll be happy. I'm happy in general that Rune Factory is back and is going as strong as it is, even though 5 was kind of a hurdle. But I really do think Guardians of Ozma is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a very fun game to play. And once it releases, the clock starts back. We'll be waiting to see more on Rune Factory 6, because all we've seen so far is the logo of the game. So we'll have to wait and see when we get more info. But that is going to be it for me today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. As always, guys, this is Cannan. Me and Jess love y'all very, very much. Please stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you in the next one. See ya.